In this video, we will be looking at the SFDC output screen. We'll be covering the basics of the screen, including the information available, and some basic functions. We will start this session by navigating through the logging screens of SFDC. So the first screen that we need to work through is to select a machine centre. So I'm just going to select Linda Mitchell, 130, and next. Next we need to select a production order. So I'm just going to choose this first one. And finally we need to select our operator. So I'm just going to select myself from this list. From here you can see I'm directed to the output screen. Think of this as your home page of SFDC. So the first thing we're going to look at is the information available on the screen. The first row of information that we have is the machine information. So here we have the machine centre number, which is 130, its status, which is ready. Now this will show whatever status the machine was last left in. So if, for example, it had had a power cut the last time somebody used it, then this would show as stopped. And the time type, which in this instance is set up. The next row of information relates specifically to the production order that we're working on. So we have the production order number, the order quantity, the expected number of operators, the operation number, which will relate to the routing number, the operation description, which will be pulling from the operation number, which in this case is final assembly, the item number that we're putting together, and also the item description. Finally, we have the progress of the production order. So as you can see here, whoever was on the machine last, or if I was on the machine last, I've already completed 11 of this order. I have 9 to start and a quantity of 9 remaining. Along the bottom of the screen, you can see the operator number, which will be my operator code, which in this case is OP21, the operator name, which in this case is Megan Hill, and the time. The time will start once the system is running. Because we're still in setup, that's staying as 0, but if I press start, you'll see that this will now begin to count. Next we'll be discussing the navigation pane functionality. As we discussed in the setup video, which is the first video in this playlist, the action buttons found on the navigation pane are entirely dependent upon what was ticked and activated within the SFD setup screen. In this setup, I have activated buy products and scrap and switch, which we'll be covering briefly, but they also do have their own dedicated videos. I'm just going to briefly touch on the instructions action on the navigation pane, so I'm just going to select into here. Now, if there are any instructions attached to the routing line, this is where they will appear. If you're unable to see the instructions action on the navigation pane, it means that no instructions have yet been added. So here I just have an image of a bike, but this can be in many different formats, for example a Word or a PDF document. As I said, we'll cover this in more detail in the notes and instructions video. I'm just going to close this. Now we have the components action, so I'm just going to click into here. So in this screen we have a breakdown of every component that makes up this item. As you can see, we have an expected quantity of each of these components of 20, and if you remember, the output quantity of our bicycle was also 20, meaning that one of each of these components is meant for that finished item. You're meant to post components as you go along, so we'll just quickly touch on this, but we do discuss components more in depth later on. So in order to post a component, you just tick the line that you want to post. So I'm just going to post one of this front wheel. And as you can see, I've got a quantity to post. And I'm just going to put 10. If I select post, you'll see I'm redirected back to the output screen. If I now go back into components, you'll see that my remaining quantity is dropped by 10. Next, I'm just going to again briefly touch on the buy products action on the navigation pane. So a buy product is different to scrap in that it's an item that can be reused or resold. So buy products are set up in nav, which again we will cover in its accompanying video. But in order to post a buy product, if I just select the action, and as you can see, I have an output quantity, a buy product and a variant. So the byproduct in this instance is a front wheel. So essentially what we're saying is whenever we produce a bicycle, or sometimes when we produce a bicycle, we may also end up producing an additional front wheel. So in output quantity, I'm just going to put 1. I'm going to select the front wheel. And also, although we don't have a variant set up, you do just want to select no variant. But if there are any variants set up on that byproduct, they will show along the bottom. I'm just going to post. So again, that doesn't actually show anything within the output screen, but that does feed back into nav, which again we'll cover in its accompanying video. Also within the SFD setup screen, I allowed for scrap. So I'm just going to select scrap. I'm going to select enter a quantity to scrap. So again, I'm just going to put 1. And then I just want to enter my scrap reason code. So I'm just going to say operator error, so I've made a mistake. And OK. Again, from an operator perspective, they aren't able to see that that's had any effect, but that will feed into nav. Now we've got the stop button. So here we're going to see the changing colours of the output screen and why they might be important. So I'm just going to select stop. You can see we have 7 different stop reason codes and they all have different meanings. So some of them go to planned breaks. For example, a lunchtime break is going to be a planned stop because you know that they have their lunch every day, or a break, sorry. An unplanned stop is going to be something like a power cut, which isn't something that you can predict. And it may require the machine to be restarted in order for it to work again. I'm going to show you both, so in this instance I'm just going to select lunchtime and OK. Immediately you can see that my screen is changed to orange, and you might also be able to see that along the top my machine information has changed. So my status has changed to planned stop. The reason has changed to lunch. My time type is still on setup because if you remember, I never set the machine to ready or running. It was still on setup. So I'm just going to start again. And we're just going to quickly show you how to get the machine to show as red. So I'm just going to select stop again. So because that was a planned stop, I'm now going to select an unplanned stop. So I'm going to select power cut and OK. In my example, I have a light pink colour, but you might choose to have a bright red colour to attract more attention on the shop floor. It's entirely up to you. Again, you can also see that my machine information on the top has changed. So now I've changed to stopped, power cut, and I'm still in setup. And I'm just going to exit. So when I select exit here, I just need to confirm the stop reason code because it was an unplanned stop. So for example, you might have initially chosen under investigation. You might then want to choose operator error if you've realised that actually you've made a mistake. You'll also notice that within the stop codes screen that we don't specify which are planned stops and which are unplanned stops, as this might affect operator judgment. But here, I'm just going to select power cut again, and if I wanted to exit, I can exit there. I'm not going to for now. I'm just going to cancel. Okay. If I wanted to start the machine back up, I'm just going to select start. Just going to confirm my stop reason code, which was power cut, and OK. And I'm back onto my output screen. The final action I need to touch on is switch, which again was activated within the SFDC setup screen. So if I select switch, you can see that I'm able to select another machine centre. Once selected, I'll be redirected to choose another production order line. The production order that I've just came from will become available again to other machines. So I'm just going to select OK, next. And I'm ready to start this next production line. In this video, we will be looking at the SFDC output screen. We'll be covering the basics of the screen, including the information available and some basic functions.